Driving up the Mount Lemmon highway, just outside of Tucson, I had seen the sign that reads Gordon Hirabayashi several times. It always piqued my curiosity, and I finally looked up the name. I learned there was a prison camp on that spot, and how Gordon Hirabayashi's story intersected with that prison.
You know, I read in an article that when you first arrived at the camp, that the Hopi Indians that invited you to their
Ramada.
Camp. Yeah.
They built the Ramada on the side of the hill, and I didn't know anything about it. I'm just new in the camp, and there was a group of Hopis there, and they said, well, we know you guys are engaged in a white man's war, Europe and so on. We have no interest in fighting in your war. So they were a category of objectors that were sent to prison. At any rate, they took a real warm interest. Gave me a hair wash with soap weeds. They brewed some tea and gave it to me, and just treated me like a brother.
When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, our west coast became a potential combat zone. Living in that zone were more than 100,000 persons of Japanese ancestry, 2/3 of them American citizens, 1/3 aliens. We knew that some among them were potentially dangerous. Most were loyal. But no one knew what would happen among this concentrated population if Japanese forces should try to invade our shores. Military authorities therefore determined that all of them, citizens and aliens alike, would have to move.
They expected injustice and discrimination one way or another. So when this order came, there was another thing that they had to cope with. You know, even though they felt it was totally unnecessary and totally wrong and it's a discrimination, it wasn't their first line thought to, I'm going to confront this, battle it. You ever review the story of Columbus? Columbus and his men came ashore. Dark-skinned people hovered around with curiosity and later brought them food and so on. Columbus discovered America because they weren't humans that counted. And so they're ignored. And this viewpoint sort of psychologically continues.
Gordon Hirabayashi was one of 3 Japanese Americans to resist being interned during World War II. He lost his 1943 Supreme Court case, Hirabayashi versus the United States, and was sent to that prison camp on Mount Lemmon.
For a while, I thought the Constitution failed me. Then it occurred to me that it wasn't necessarily the Constitution that failed me, it was the people who were placed in the responsibility of upholding the Constitution.
Prisoners at the camp helped build what would become the Catalina Highway. The camp was closed when the road was completed in 1951. In 1999, the area where the camp stood was renamed to honor Gordon Hirabayashi. In 2012, he was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom.